This part is pitiful in the way that like a rabid dog is pitiful, okay? You're like, oh, that's so sad, but also, do I feel bad for you? Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm currently dealing with two very crazy cats. So if you hear any sounds, that's what's going on right now. They're just sort of losing it right when I need to start filming. We're making it work. It's fine. If you guys missed it, I did upload the first of my Throne of Glass plot breakdowns on Wednesday, so go check that video out if you're interested. Otherwise, today we're moving into the second half of season 6. Stuff's about to get weird. It's already been a roller coaster. It's just gonna keep getting weirder. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and let's go ahead and get into this week's gossip session. Episode 13, we're getting a Bonnie update, all right? She's still in the prison world. It's now February. It's her birthday. She's starting to get really, really angry. That's the emotion settling in with her. Elena comes over to the Salvatore house to find Jeremy working out. She is insisting on throwing a birthday party for Bonnie, which Jeremy is like, that's kind of weird since like she can't come. Like that's super morbid and awkward. And Elena is like, no, Bonnie would want us to celebrate her and enjoy all her favorite things even though she's not here. And it's like, okay, bestie, I don't think we have to do it that way if we don't want to. We also find out here that Jeremy was planning on going to art school, but he threw his application away because he's flunking out of high school again, so he doesn't think he's gonna be able to go. And he doesn't want to leave town until they know for sure if Bonnie can come back or not. Caroline and Stefan are setting up for the party, and y'all know the bear, Mrs. Cuddles, like the stuffed teddy bear that Bonnie put her magic in and sent it back to Mr. Claus. Okay. Caroline's weird about the bear, and Stefan's like, it's just a teddy bear, Caroline. Like, why are you so freaked out by it? And she's like, because the original Mrs. Cuddles went missing because I stole her. Caroline Forbes, oh my God. So yeah, when they were kids, Caroline got mad at Bonnie. She took her bear and she buried her in the woods and then lost her. So remember, Liz is dying. Bonnie's missing on her birthday. Caroline's not handling any of that well, so she decides her best course of action is to go to the woods and try to find the bear. And Stefan's like, are you sure that's what you need to be doing right now? And she's like, yes, and if you don't want to help me, just be quiet. And so she leaves. Damon and Elena are sneaking cupcakes in the kitchen. They're flirting. They talk about the hospital kiss, and this is like the talk where they're officially back together again for like the third time. But now they're back together and they've both acknowledged it and they're happy, okay? But right as they start kissing, we hear the door open and somebody goes, hello? And Elena's like, that's not possible. That's so not possible right now. And Damon is like, you're right, because he's all packed and merged and on his way to Portland. And my boy, Kai, comes in the kitchen. So Kai walks in and he's like, whoa, I forget how massive this house is. Yum, cupcakes. That's one of my favorite lines. That's one of my favorite lines. He's come to them for help because he wrote Joe a letter apologizing for everything, but he can't find her because she's hiding from him, so locator spells aren't working. Elena is like, why would we help you with this? And also, why do you want to talk to Joe? Like, what's going on? This is when he gives his iconic, in case you haven't figured it out by now, I'm a sociopath. I know, shocker. I like being a sociopath because I'm not burdened by things like guilt or love. Monologue. That's this moment. He explains that when he merged with Luke, he absorbed his ability to do magic. So like, nice, he's still a siphon, but he has his own magic now for the first time in his life. But also, he sort of accidentally absorbed parts of Luke's personality, like empathy. So he's a little bit nice now. He's so confused by the whole like feeling empathy and being sad that Luke is dead and he's ruined Liv's life and like taken her best friend from her, that he Googled how to deal with emotional pain because he'd never had to do it before. And Google told him that if you write it all down in a letter and then you burn the letter, you'll be healed. And he's like, so I did all of that. And then while I was writing the letter, I started like leaking from my eyeballs, like water just started coming out. And Elena's like, you mean you cried? And Damon's just sitting there like, oh, Jesus Christ, I can't do this. Kai's like, yes, I cried and it was weird, okay? And then I burned the letter and the feelings are still here. So I feel really strongly that I need to apologize to Joe for ruining our family. she needs to know how sorry I am. He then goes on to be like, Elena, you of all people should understand that despite the terrible, awful things I've done, there might be a little shred of decency still inside me. I mean, you did it with Damon. Like, Damon's like, all right, enough, you're done. Be quiet, magic sucker. And Elena is like, hold on though. What if there's something he could do for us in return? We cut to Enzo and Matt over at Duke keeping tabs on Sarah. So in case you want to try to understand what's going on in Enzo's brain, he's doing all of this because he's upset that Stefan is holding Sarah's death over Damon's head, even though she's not dead, so he didn't kill her, and that's not fair. Matt tries to bounce to get out of helping, so Enzo grabs him by the throat and threatens his mom, and then Matt ends up agreeing. So Elena and Damon gave Kai the broken ascendant to see if he could fix it, but remember, he shattered that thing, so it's like very much not working. But then Damon hits him with like, oh, well, you know, I just wish we could at least send Bonnie a message because it is her birthday and she's there all alone, and what if now she's been there for so long that the days just blur together? Is that what happens when you're in there for too long? Do you just forget what day it is? And Kai is just sitting there like, oh yeah, damn, that is what happens. Yeah, 18 years. It sucks. It's really bad. Yeah. And Elena is like, aha, good job, Damon, you little sneaky bitch. So Kai breaks and he's like, okay, well, maybe, yeah, like, I'm probably strong enough since I'm like the almighty powerful leader of the Gemini Coven now. I could probably like get a message to her. What do you guys want to say? And Damon is like, all we have to do is tell her where she can go to get more magic, and then she'll be able to get herself out. I would like everyone to know that not once, not one time do they consider just sending the teddy bear back. That's never brought up. Tyler goes over to Liv's room and finds her crying over a dress. She says it's what she was gonna wear to the merge ceremony, and it's the dress she would have died in. Tyler wants to run away with her to hide from Kai because everyone is still on the whole, he's insane and he'll kill all of us and innocent people if we're not careful and we don't stop him, even though like it's been several days and he hasn't done any of that, okay? Remember, Miss Liv is very headstrong, okay? So she's like, no, absolutely not. I'm not running from him. There's nowhere we could go that would be far enough away that he won't find us one day. She's an absolute and complete mess over Luke dying. I cannot stress that enough. Tyler is like, I will do whatever you want. Just tell me what you want to do and we will do it together. And she's like, okay, I want to kill Kai. Strong choice to come out of the gate with that one. Kai starts fiddling with the Ascendant again, trying to fix it. Damon and Elena have decided that Bonnie's best bet is to go after the headstone. Take your minds back to the Nova Scotia arc, okay? Remember creepy Professor Shane and Silas and Ketsia and Amara and the headstone and all of that nonsense? That headstone is loaded with magic, okay? So if they can just get Bonnie to go get that thing, she can get the magic out of it and then she'll have enough to get out. They get flirty again, even though this is not the time and they are not alone in the room. Kai's like, whoa, thank God. You two being together is still revolting to me. At least Luke didn't take me over completely. Don't forget about Caroline and Stefan. They are over in the woods hunting for Mrs. Cuddles, getting real cute and flirty. Jeremy walks in on Kai helping Elena and Damon and he's like, what are you guys thinking? People don't just change like that, okay? He's still evil. And Damon is like, listen, little Gilbert, people don't just merge with their siblings all the time, okay? So we're giving him a chance. Made me laugh so hard this time around because two of y'all literally commented that like a few weeks ago. That was something y'all were talking about in the comments. Kai says that Jeremy should just look at what's happened to him like Elena in reverse. And everybody's like, explain, Kai, that makes no sense. So he says, oh, well, you know, she was a human, Miss Goody Two-Shoes, dating the good Salvatore brother. And then she turned into a vampire. Her bloodthirstiness came out and now she's dating the bad one. Just, I'm the opposite. I was evil. Now I'm good because I have my brother. You get it? Yeah. Liv does a spell that she created with Luke to cheat during hide and seek that allows her to look through Kai's eyes for a second, and she sees Damon and realizes he's at the Salvatore house. So she's like, nice, now I know where he is. I'm going. Tyler's freaking out because remember, the Geminis are all connected. So if anything happens to Kai, all of them will die. She's also like, yeah, well, he's gonna kill all of us and our friends and the guy at the drive-thru who does his order wrong, which again, none of that's happened yet, and it's been several days since Luke died. He tries to stop her from leaving and like begs her to reconsider, so she knocks him out and leaves him on the floor. Sarah is taking a picture of a bird's nest that has fallen out of a tree, because she's a little freak. Matt is watching her, trying to be all cute and flirty to get to know her a little better for Enzo. She brushes him off and like turns him down and walks away. So Enzo shows up and he's like, great, now I have to compel her to forget about that and we have to try again. Why are you such a useless idiot? Give me your jacket, keys, and wallet. Kai fixed the Ascendant enough to send the group over to see Bonnie. But there's too many of them and the Ascendant is mostly still broken, so it's only strong enough to send them like in ghost form, so they'll be able to see Bonnie, but she won't be able to see them. He starts the spell and it works. They can see Bonnie eating birthday cake at the table alone in the dining room. She has a bottle of bourbon with her, and when Damon sees it, he's like, oh no. And he explains that it's the oldest bottle in the house and they made a pact that when they couldn't take living in the world anymore, they would kill the bottle of bourbon and then kill themselves. Then they all wake up all of a sudden in the house again, like in the real world, and they're like, what happened? Kai is bleeding 11 style out of his nose, and he's like, I guess that was too much magic. Like, I can't hold the connection, it broke. Weird, confusing loophole where I guess now Bonnie can die in the prison world, even though she got stabbed in the stomach and just woke up and moved on from that injury as if it never happened. So remember when she died on Thanksgiving? I thought she died on Thanksgiving in the yard and then she woke up later, but I don't know. Now they're saying she can die. Damon is like, look, I already scribbled a note on the atlas that will lead her to Nova Scotia, okay? So all we have to do is get her to see that and then she will know the plan and she can do it. Kai just has to up his witchy woo so that we can make physical contact. Kai's like, all while sending the three of you back over there? Sure, yeah. Hey, why don't I reanimate your dead parents for a tea party while I'm at it? Sorry? Insensitive. I can't with him, okay? Post-merge Kai is something else. Jeremy volunteers to go back over alone because they're hoping that if Kai just focuses on one of them, then that would be enough for that person to make physical contact. Kai's like, yeah, that could work. If it doesn't though, you're risking me losing connection and Jeremy getting trapped over there forever. And Jeremy's like, that's fine. At least I'll be with Bonnie. Stefan is now drinking in the woods with Caroline, so he's getting all sassy and silly and goofy. She's still digging holes, but she can't find the bear anywhere. So he starts like egging her on and teasing her, trying to get her to like feel an emotion, because at this point she's using this as a distraction to keep from like processing anything. So he makes her angry. She ends up thwacking him with the shovel. They both end up on the ground and then they start laughing and like giggling together. Kai starts the spell again, but my boy is struggling. Okay, he is so sweaty, so sick, not going well. Damon and Elena are too stressed that they might lose Jeremy, so they leave the room. Mistake number one. Listen, Duke University is like 2.5 hours from where I grew up, and I can tell you right now, it does not get cold enough to be in a Henley sweater shivering at the bus stop in February. It's just not that cold that close to the coast in North Carolina, but that's what Matt's doing. He's like, I'm so cold and I don't have my jacket anymore, and also I lost my wallet and my keys. So Sarah takes pity on him and like takes him to the bus and agrees to like buy him a coffee and get him a bus ticket home. Damon gets the same bottle that Bonnie's currently drinking and opens it up and starts drinking it with Elena. She picks this moment to ask Damon if Kai was right. Like, did she change completely when she turned into a vampire? Like, yes, girl. Where have you been? 100%. It gave you the freedom to be the real, morally ambiguous person that you are. Damon agrees with me, and he's like, yeah, actually, I don't think we'd be together if you were a human, because human you was on your way back to Stefan that night that you went over the bridge, and then when you woke up and you turned, suddenly I was back on the table, and like, that was an option again. But yeah, no, like, we'd totally not be together if you were a human. And she's like, and Damon's just like, I mean, you did ask though. Like, I just answered your question. She tries to leave the room, but she's stuck inside with a magical barrier. Jeremy and Kai find the atlas in the kitchen. Jeremy picks it up and flips to the right page, but then before he can set it down, he loses like the ability to hold it and it falls out of his hands. And he's like, Kai, do something. And when he looks up at Kai, Kai's like, and there's a big old like red splotch blooming on his stomach. Oh no! We cut to the real world where Liv is pulling like a fire poker out of Kai's stomach. Jeremy's livid. He tries to stop her, so she just throws both of them across the room. Kai gets up and he's like, dang sis, that was harsh. She starts to aneurysm him, and then he takes a fork because remember, the birthday party was happening, so they just crashed into the table with the cake and the party supplies, so there's a fork on the floor next to him. He throws it at her and stabs her in the throat. Then he takes a bottle of alcohol that he finds on the floor. He opens it, he douses her in it, and he goes, you know that charge that races through your bones at the prospect of watching someone burn to death? I really miss that feeling. Kai Parker, be quiet. So Liv is like crawling backwards away from him, and initially she's like, Kai, stop it, Kai. And it's like, girl, you quite literally started the fight. Like, you attacked him. Anyway, she starts to cry, and she's like bleeding from the neck. She's covered in alcohol. She is like looking up at her big brother, and she's like, go ahead, Kai, just do it. You already killed my best friend, just do it. And he's above her holding a candle, like ready to throw it on her. And he starts to cry. So now they're both crying while they're looking at each other. This is such out of context. I sent this scene to my friend out of context, and she was like, this feels like an SNL sketch. Like, it doesn't even feel real. And I'm like, it doesn't feel real when you're watching it. It's insanity for them both to start crying in this moment. My heart, I can't do it. So he's holding the candle and he's crying, looking down at her, and he's like, what's going on? I don't care about you. Why can't I kill her? And he switches into like third person, and he's like, go ahead, Kai, do it, Kai. And he starts like hitting himself. It's so intense. The whole time Liv's just crying on the floor in front of him, okay? Like, it's bad. All around, it's bad. So she throws the fork at him and stabs him in the chest with it. And then Jeremy gets up off the floor, takes like a giant, like not a cake cutting knife, okay? It's way too big to have just been on the table. He grabs that, he throws it at Liv. So she's been stabbed now again, and she's on the ground, and he takes Kai to the kitchen. And he's like, dude, you have to send me back. I have to get back to Bonnie. And Kai's like, my brother in Christ, I am literally half dead right now. I don't know what you want me to do. I cannot help you. And Jeremy's like, please, I have to get to Bonnie. And Kai's like, okay, sure, fine. And he does the spell again, even though he's dying. The boys end up back in the dining room with Bonnie, where she has almost finished the bottle. Now she's kind of out of her angry phase. She's crying now, all right? She goes walking out of the house, and Jeremy's like, Kai, stay here. And he follows her. Stefan and Caroline get up to leave because remember, they fell on the ground and they were kind of way too close to each other, giggling like little teenagers. And as they're leaving, Stefan's like, is that an ear? And they find the bear, and when she picks it up, its head falls off, which is so funny. And then they start laughing, and it's adorable. And then they almost kiss, but then she starts crying, so he just holds her instead. In case it wasn't clear, Liv is the one that trapped Damon and Elena in the bedroom, all right? So she is now up again, running through the house looking for Kai. She ends up close to the fireplace, which is like technically connected to the one in Damon's room. So he kicks through the fireplace wall, drops the bottle of bourbon down. It explodes in the fire in the living room and knocks Liv unconscious. Pretty sick ass move on his part. It's nice. Trigger warning for the next little bit. We're gonna be talking about Bonnie self-harming. So Jeremy follows her out to the garage, where she turns the car on and sits down next to it to record a final video. He can't touch her, but he's like begging her to stop and like trying to get through to her, but it's not working. She records basically an apology to everybody and says that she tried to make it work, but she just can't take it anymore. She's way too lonely. She's too sad. She misses all of them too much. She just can't do it. Then she talks directly to Jeremy and tells him that she hopes that he's living his life and that he's moved on and that he's proud of himself and he never gives up on what he wants out of life. She tells him to always stay strong, and then that like does something to her, and she's like, that's what Graham's always said to me, that I need to stay strong. And she's been like full meltdown mode this whole time. Also, she's starting to cough because the car fumes are like filling up the garage, but she starts crawling towards the garage trying to get out. And she's like, I have to stay strong. I can do this, and like changes her mind in this moment. Jeremy is like, get up, Bonnie, get up, because she's gonna have to like stand up to get to the button on the wall that will open the garage. He's like frantically tapping it, but he's a ghost, so it's not working. And he's like, Bonnie, please, like, you have to get up, you have to get up, you have to get out of here, Bonnie, come on. And then all of a sudden it works, and he's able to hit the button. The garage door opens, the room like floods with sunlight. Bonnie can breathe, and she looks up and like sees Jeremy for half a second silhouetted by the sunlight. Oh my God. Oh, it's such a good scene. Elena and Damon find Jeremy and Kai passed out in the kitchen, but neither of them will wake up. Damon gives Kai blood. He wakes up, and then that saves both of them. So Jeremy wakes up, and he's like, I saw Bonnie. She's gonna be okay. Elena and Jeremy clean up after the party because remember, the table with the cake got exploded when the boys got thrown into it. She tells him that he needs to follow Bonnie's advice and save himself, and she really, really thinks that he should go and leave town and go to art school. Liv wakes back up in her dorm room with a very angry Tyler. She's like, what happened? And he's like, well, I woke up on the floor and then I realized where you were. I went to go get you. You were unconscious in the living room and I had to beg Elena to give you her blood because she was so mad at you, she almost wouldn't do it. And now that I know you're okay, I never want to see you again. She tries to apologize, but he refuses to calm down and he's like, I would have done anything for you, but you chose death over me. Damn, we're coming in hot with the one-liners this episode. So they break up. Enzo explains to Matt that the whole lost puppy on the side of the road, help me get a bus ticket please, was a ploy to test how good of a person Sarah is. She passed it, so now Enzo's like, my plan is to weasel my way into her life and make her fall for me and make her do things she never thought she would do. And then she's gonna beg me to turn her into a vampire. Stefan thinks he can protect her. He can't. Okay, Enzo, or you could just go back to England. That's an option. You can just leave. Elena goes to Damon and says that since Jeremy's moving on with his life, she needs to too. Damon and all of us get spooked and are like, are they about to break up again? But no, that's not where she's going with this. Instead, she gives him this whole speech about how no matter the circumstances, she always finds her way back to him, and that means something. So like, yes, they're back together. They fall into bed, making out. It's a whole thing. Jeremy applies to art school. Caroline stitches the head back on Bonnie's original bear with Stefan like hovering near her. Bonnie is drinking again, but she's like in her healed era, okay? She's no longer crying, she's no longer angry. She sees the dropped atlas on the floor, picks it up, and it is on the page for Nova Scotia. So she's like, Damon, you brilliant genius. And then she packs up and in the morning leaves. So our girl's gonna be okay, y'all. Buckle up. This is a very sad episode. Warning you now. We open with Liz back at work, but joke's on y'all, it's a flashback. This is the night Elena's parents died. Then we see Liz in the present picking up the file and it says like, still open pending further investigation. Damon and Elena compel the principal at the high school to let Jeremy graduate early and then also compel him into art school so he can leave. While they're celebrating Jeremy's like last day in town, Enzo calls Matt and Jeremy sees the phone call and he's like, what's going on there? And Matt's like, absolutely nothing you need to worry about. It's okay, everything's fine. But no, nothing's fine, all right? Sarah is at the grill. Enzo set the whole thing up and he was just calling Matt to be like, make sure you make her feel welcome. Danger, red flags all around. Also, Damon brought Jeremy's secret pot from Joe. Okay. We were robbed of a Parker family smoke sesh is all I'm gonna say about that. Caroline and Stefan are moving Liz's stuff into the cabin so that she can like be safe in a really comfortable environment for the last couple days that she has. His phone rings and Caroline has to like reach into his pocket because he can't possibly set down the boxes he's holding. So she like reaches into his pocket to get the phone out. It's her mom. She answers it and she's like, Mom, I know you're just calling to check up on me because I know you told Stefan to stay with me and keep an eye on me. And Liz is like, I'm sure that's not the only reason why he's there with you, Caroline. And she's like, yes, it is. And I will call you later. Okay, have a good day. Bye, Mommy. And she like hangs up. Damon goes to see Liz at her office while she's still looking over the Gilbert file. She is having a hard time leaving work, even though like she needs to be done. She doesn't want to leave the unfinished cases that she hasn't solved open. She really wants to handle all of them. So he goes through the files and he's like, ah, yes, me again. Stefan, actually. No, wait. Me. It shouldn't be as funny as it is, all right? But it's a nice reminder that there are a lot of people in the current Mystic Falls gang that are mass murderers. So keep that in mind. She actually thought Damon was maybe involved in what happened to the Gilberts, and he's like, Liz, I can't believe you would think that of me. No, I promise I didn't do it. Like, my guy, you just said you did like 8 other ones. She's totally valid in thinking this could have been you. So she plays him a message that Miranda left her 2 hours before the car went over the bridge. And it's Miranda basically being like, Liz, I have something very serious to discuss with you. You need to call me back as quickly as you can. Elena catches Jeremy outside the grill with the secret Joe pot, and initially she takes it from him. And then they have this moment of being like, our life is so weird, right? So then she's like, can I have your lighter? And she agrees to smoke it with him because getting high with her little brother would be like the most normal thing they've done in a while. Stefan takes his jacket off to fix a light on the front porch, and Caroline has this moment of being like, Arms, oh my God, I can't think, put them away. She tells him he can go if he needs to go, like he doesn't have to stay with her. And he's like, Caroline, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Shut up, Stefan. Damon is now helping Liz. She gives him her secret bourbon stash and asks why exactly the boys were both in town the night that Elena's parents died. Damon is like, if you must know, our mother died around that same time of year, so I always come back to town when my emotions are on and leave flowers on her grave because I am a good son. He says she died of consumption, and Liz is like, I feel like you're leaving something out there. He is. We'll come back to it. Also, we find out that the car crash, like on paper, makes no sense because the Gilberts had luggage in the car with them when they went off the road. There were no skid marks on the road, which implies that Grayson just sort of drove off the bridge for funsies. And then why were they even on that road? Because remember, that's a way in and out of town, and there was a quicker way back to their house that they just didn't take. Elena and Jeremy are now giggling over a bunch of fries. Elena is giggling. Jeremy is fine because remember, he's our little stoner boy. She unloads all her big sister guilt on him about how she didn't take good enough care of him. And he's like, well, I wasn't expecting you to take care of me. Like, it was actually just kind of nice to know that you were also suffering. So we were like going through it together. And then when you got better, that's when I felt alone. But that's not your fault. Like, you were healing and I just wasn't ready yet. Damon calls and is like, I need you to come help me with Liz. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so buzzed right now. I don't think I can do that. And he's like, well, you need to sober up because this is important. The second he's alone, Enzo drops in on Jeremy and is like, surprise, I'm not dead. Enzo then calls Matt and is like, I need you to bring Sarah to a secret, dark, sketchy tunnel on the edge of town. Matt's like, why would I do that? She's a nice girl. I don't want to hurt her. Enzo's like, I didn't think threatening your mom was enough. So I'm actually standing on Jeremy's face right now. And if you don't do what I'm asking, I will kill him. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, y'all. I don't know what to tell you. Caroline's having a spiral now about what books to put next to Liz's bed because whatever she picks up will be like the last thing she reads. So Stefan is like, I've actually read all these books because I'm so much older than I look. I will pick for you. Let me have that responsibility, okay? You don't need to make that choice. Elena tells Liz and Damon that unfortunately she has no idea why they took that road home. She did not know there was luggage in the back of the car, and she was texting Bonnie when they went off the road, so she doesn't know like if there was something that her dad saw or like what happened. Liz feels bad for having not brought it up sooner and asking these questions before now, but Elena is like, Liz, oh my God, no, you were amazing after they died. Like, you stepped in while Jenna was figuring everything out. You took care of us. Like, you were basically our mom. Like, you just handled everything. Don't feel bad. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. Then Liz almost passes out and Damon has to like steady her, and he is so sad. And I'm sad. It's just sad. Matt takes Sarah to the tunnel under the guise that she can take some creepy pictures of the graffiti since she's kind of dark and moody like that. She's like, yeah, whatever. And she like pulls out her camera and starts taking pictures. And then Enzo calls and Matt's like, where are you? And Enzo's like, I'm right here. Don't you see me? Take a few steps to the left. Matt takes a few steps to the left and Enzo runs him over with his car. Now Stefan is brooding on the porch of the cabin. He tells Caroline that it doesn't matter what book Liz reads last or what she's doing right when she dies. What matters is like the moments before and how she spends those final days and if she's happy or not. They hold hands and she says that she knows Liz asked him to look after her and she doesn't even mind because she doesn't think she could be doing this on her own anyway. He says he's not doing this for Liz, okay? He's doing this because Caroline is his best friend and he knows what it's like to lose a mother and he didn't want her to be alone. And also when she said she hated him, that was like the worst thing he'd heard in a while. She says, I think we both know I've never hated you, Stefan. And they kiss. Y'all, it is such a moment, okay? It's their kiss. It's like Pride and Prejudice level, all right? The sun is behind them, like bursting through the silhouette of their faces. It is a whole moment. Sarah calls 911 for Matt, all right? They're waiting on the ambulance, but Matt is dying. Enzo comes running up and he's like, oh my God, I was walking by. What happened? What's going on? He looks at Matt and he's like, yeah, I think he punctured a lung. Matt looks up at him and is like, you better fix it, because he's like choking to death on his own blood. Enzo's like, Sarah, I can fix this, but can you stay calm? I need you to promise me that you'll stay calm. And she's like, okay, what are you gonna do? And he's like, this. And he bites his wrist and gives Matt his blood. So Matt heals. And then Enzo's like, you're not staying calm, Sarah. And he runs away. Jeremy's got like a boot print mark bruise on his jaw. He's putting ice on it. Elena comes home. He's like, surprise, Enzo's still alive and he's still an asshole. Who would have thought? She wants to go after him, but he's like, no, it's fine. It's so not a big deal. I'm not worried about it. She asks him about the crash and if he remembers anything from that night. And he says, you know what? Actually, yeah, Mom caught me smoking in my room and she said she was gonna have me arrested. So she like called Liz and everything and like made a big deal out of it. So that was the phone call. So Damon has to tell Liz that the phone call was a joke, and also that they had packed the day before because Grayson was planning on like a surprise family trip to their cabin that they have, but there was a storm, so they didn't end up going, and also the storm knocked down a power line on the quicker route that they didn't take, so that's why they were on Wickery Bridge, and because of the storm, the roads were slick, and that's why there were no skid marks when they went off the road. Liz is very sad about this and is like, I'm not up for whatever surprise Caroline has planned. Like, I just want to go home, and Damon agrees to take her. He leaves first, and we have this moment of Liz like putting her sheriff's badge on her desk and taking a final moment with her office and turning off the light and then leaving. These are my least favorite, and also they mean so much to me. Like when characters get this time to like say goodbye while we're saying goodbye, it's my favorite thing, but also it's so painful. Jeremy tries to stay since now they know that Liz is getting worse, but Rick and Elena insist that it's time for him to go and start his normal life again, because remember, he already did this one time and then Cole showed up and like ruined that. So this is his take 2. The siblings say goodbye to each other, and then Elena promises to send him her car because he's been begging for that the whole episode. Damon tucks Liz into bed once he gets her home, and he says she looks hot in her little matching PJ set, and she's like, I don't even have words to tell you how much that disturbs me. Be quiet, Damon. She is so upset that the Gilberts died in a terrible accident, and then that sort of leads her into a meltdown about what's happening to her and how she was a good person and she took care of her family and she did everything right, and she's still dying from this cancer that nobody saw coming. He says sometimes really terrible things happen to really good people. She says at least she's one of the only people in Mystic Falls that can say that she has an ordinary death, because she's an ordinary woman and that's all she really wants. But Caroline is extraordinary, and Liz wants to make sure that she knows that she is so proud of her and who she's become, and Damon's like, up, up, up. You can tell her that yourself, okay? You're gonna tell her that yourself. She thanks him for helping her that day and for being there with her. He says he never spent much time with his mom while she was dying, so this is kind of like his second chance too, and he just wants to make sure Liz is comfortable and happy. He also says that he was supposed to write the eulogy for his mom, but he couldn't, and then he didn't even go to the funeral. And Liz is like, well, do you want a second chance with that too? Write mine. She says he can't add anything dirty to it, and he's like, no promises. She asks for a drink. He gets up to get her one, and as he's leaving the room, he like hears her shut down, and he turns around and she's like unconscious on the bed. It's such a good moment because he's like leaving the room and we see him like register that something's happened because vampire. So he just all of a sudden is like, Liz, and turns around and she's like not awake anymore. So we cut to Caroline barreling into the hospital looking for Liz's room. Damon explains that it just happened, like all of a sudden she went into the coma and now all they can do is make her comfortable. Caroline is like, but I didn't get to say goodbye. Stefan calls Tyler to get his little wolf butt back to town because he went AWOL after breaking up with Liv and now nobody knows where he is. Liz has a DNR, so it's not gonna be long now, and Damon is not taking it well. He has to like go outside. Caroline's heartbroken that she left her alone for her last day and didn't even spend it with her. Rick takes Jeremy to the bus stop, not the airport, and he gives him a bag of vampire hunting supplies. Yeah, y'all thought you knew where this was going, didn't you? It's not. It's not going where you thought. So Jeremy's not going to art school. No, he's actually running off to go be a vampire hunter. All he has to do is keep up the lie with Elena that he's like happy and safe and in art school, and she'll believe it and he'll get away with it. I'm sure she won't find out. Rick's in on it, obviously, and he's planning on being like the tip line for Jeremy to send him around hunting vampires. As they say goodbye, Rick says he's super proud of him and the life he's making for himself. Hot take, but okay. And he also promises to call Jeremy immediately if Bonnie ever comes back to town. Back in the hospital room, Stefan reminds Caroline that vampire head dives are an option. Remember what Damon did for Rose when Rose was dying, and Catherine and Nadia? Yes. But it's a little different because Liz is at this point pretty much gone, so Caroline can't straight up talk to Liz, but she can like give her memories and like live in those last moments with her as Liz passes away. They go into this moment of Caroline learning how to ride her bike with her mom, and it's really sweet because it's like her mom being like, you can do it, Caroline, like I won't let go until you're ready, okay, you can do it. And then in the real world, obviously like Liz is dying, so it's like she's letting Caroline go into her life without her. It's a lot. It's very sweet. So Liz dies with a smile on her face, and the whole original gang minus Tyler and Bonnie are there with her, and it's really, really sweet. We open the next episode with that same memory, all right? We're back in it, only this time baby Caroline fell, and now she's on the ground, and Liz is like helping get her cleaned up. Baby Caroline is like, am I gonna die? And Liz is like, no, honey, you scraped your knee, you're gonna be fine. Baby Caroline's like, are you gonna die? And Liz is like, okay, well, yeah, like everybody dies eventually, like that will happen. Baby Caroline is like, but mom, what if you die and I'm still here? Liz is like, honey, that means you'll be all grown up and you won't need me anymore. Baby Caroline's like, I'll always need you. And then Caroline wakes up, but she wakes up to the cutest thing ever. Found family is definitely my favorite of the tropes, all right? So Caroline wakes up on a couch in the Salvatore living room, and the whole gang, including Tyler, is there, just passed out in various places. Stefan's in a chair, Tyler's on the couch, Matt's on the floor. It's adorable, okay? They're all there with her so that she didn't have to sleep alone. Except Damon, who she finds in the kitchen, frantically trying to write the eulogy, but like not doing a good job. She shuts down his attempts to bond with her because she's like, this is the worst day of my life, and I just don't think I need to start it bonding with you. Okay, so let me just drink my water and leave. He's like, yeah, fair enough. But also, Caroline, this isn't the worst day, okay? The next couple days, you're gonna be surrounded by your friends and family, okay? Nobody's gonna leave you alone. Nobody's gonna let you be too sad, all right? But a week from now, when you're by yourself for the first time and it's just quiet, that's gonna be the worst day of your life. She thanks him and then leaves, and it's so sad because that was him trying, all right? He wasn't being a jerk. He was trying. He was genuinely offering friendly advice, and it goes so wrong, but he was doing his best. Once it's morning time, Caroline makes a list, and she says that she doesn't want to drag out the funeral process, so they need to do everything that day. And since half of them are vampires, they can cheat and compel people, and it'll all work out. We cut to Bonnie coming back to the Salvatore house. She is back from Nova Scotia. She has the headstone with her. She juiced all the magic out of it, and she's ready to go home. We cut to Joe's apartment. She's back in this episode, and I think it's safe to assume that like at this point they live together. Rick is always there. Right? She's never by herself. So she's throwing up in the bathroom. She got food poisoning from the previous date night with Rick. The doorbell rings and my bestie shows up. He's also sick as hell. He's begging to see his sister because she hung up on him when he called to tell her he was sick. He's also scruffy now, so he looks like this. I started using this picture too early, okay, but we went from like babyface Kai to this Kai. So we've officially entered peak Kai Parker era. Rick tries to shut the door in his face, but Joe's like, wait a second. What are you doing here? After throwing up blood into a vase, Kai explains that he thinks he's sick because they did the merge wrong, because remember they were like, oh, Luke and Kai are close enough to twins, it'll be fine, there'll be no repercussions, but he was supposed to merge with Joe. So they cheated the system, and now he's defective, and if they don't fix him, the whole coven will die. We cut to baby Damon and Stefan getting ready for their mother's funeral. It's really funny because they just aged down Ian, but then baby Stefan is played by a kid. Sweet moment though, where baby Stefan is like, Dad told me not to cry. And Damon is like, that's because father is incapable of feeling emotion, but you're 10. So if you need to cry, you cry. Stefan's like, I don't think I'm gonna cry though, because mommy's ghost came to see me last night and she told me everything was gonna be okay. Did she come to see you too? And Damon's like, no, missed that. little moment. We cut to the present where the boys are getting ready for Liz's funeral, and Stefan comes to Damon for advice. He wants to know what he should do about the fact that he kissed Caroline the day her mom died and they haven't talked about it yet. Damon's like, buddy, you should pull the ripcord, because if you're not absolutely head over heels in love with her, you need to tell her immediately so that she can move on. And y'all, Stefan gets all funky and weird about it. He's like, oh man, you're right, Damon. I don't feel the same way I felt about Catherine and Elena, so surely I don't love Caroline that much. Oh, I'll have to tell her the truth. No, not today. Elena walks Caroline through how to deal with people talking to her and like offering condolences, because it's super awkward and terrible. So many of them are part of the Dead Moms Club now. The Gilberts, the Michelsons, the Parkers, the Salvatores, Tyler, Caroline, and also so many other random people like Haley. Why does no one have a mother? Caroline tells Elena about how she kissed Stefan, and Elena's like, oh boy, we should wait to deal with that until after the funeral. And Caroline's like, no, actually, I want to know today, because like, I need to know. I need to know right now today. I need him to tell me the truth. We go to the hospital where Kai's up on a table and Joe's like running her little test on him. Listen, she teases him here. She's like, you got any joint pain? He says yes. You got any headaches? He says yes. Are you pregnant? He's like, don't make jokes. This episode alone, there are so many moments where it's like the potential these two had to reconcile. Oh my God, it eats me alive. He says he feels like he's being scrunched from the inside out, but she can't find anything medically wrong with him. And he's like, yeah, duh, that's because I'm magically diseased. And then he throws up more blood again. She holds the trash can for him, and he like grabs her arm to keep from falling off the table, because he like pitches forward and she like catches him a little bit, and he accidentally starts siphoning magic from her. Rick is pissed and like yanks Joe away from him, and Kai sits up on the table and is suddenly like better. So he realizes, okay, yes, confirmed, I just need your magic and then I will be fixed. Rick's like, yeah, 100% absolutely not. Think again, you little leech. Kai's like, okay, Rick, can I call you Rick? Listen, if I die, Joe dies, okay? And also the magic that powers the prison worlds comes from the almighty leader of the Gemini Coven, all right? So, and Rick is like, I'm sorry, did you just say prison worlds? Like, more than one? And Kai's like, oh, did I forget to mention that? Back to Bonnie, okay? She's in the cave waiting for the eclipse to be above her, and then boom, she's in the freaky snowing prison world because Kai is sick and the magic's breaking down and everything's disintegrating. Damon is still struggling to write the eulogy even though the funeral is like in a few hours, okay? He's like, I'm not a nice person. I should not have to stand up in front of the town and pretend to be a nice person, okay? Liz did this just to pick on me. Elena is like, honey, calm down. You're nice. Ish. And besides, it doesn't matter, okay? This isn't about you. It's not even about Liz. This is about what Caroline needs to hear, okay? Remember that. We get another flashback of young Damon and Stefan at the funeral. Stefan is crying over the grave. Damon comes to get him and Stefan's like, you missed your speech. And Damon's like, I know, I'm sorry. I couldn't think about what to write. I didn't know what to say. And Stefan's like, you could have just said goodbye. So then back in the present, Damon starts writing. Joe and Rick are talking at the hospital, and she says that she clearly doesn't have a choice and she's gonna have to give Kai her magic in order to save everybody. Rick says that he'll support her either way. So if she wants to fight and get her magic back, he will fight for that with her. If she just wants to give it up, then he loved her when she wasn't a witch. He's pretty sure he'll love her either way. You heard that right. You heard that right. He said the L word and he said it first. Okay, listen, we're gonna talk about a deleted scene now. If you don't want to take it as canon, that's fine, but personally, this scene means so much to me and I wish they'd included it. This is about where I think that they would have put it had they kept it in, so we're gonna talk about it now. So we've got Kai waiting in that hospital room to see if Joe is gonna give him her magic or not. She comes in and attacks him. Like, I'm talking throws him up against the wall and then does the aneurysm spell before he can fight back. She says she called their dad and Liv and no one's sick and she's feeling better right now, so what is he playing at? He fights back to stop her from hurting him and gets back up. He's like, I'm not playing a game at all, okay? As much as my suffering might bring you some sick form of joy or whatever, this is not the way to handle the situation. There is something wrong with him and they need to fix it. She asks if it's all just a ploy to get more magic, and he's like, no, actually, it's a ploy to keep us all alive. I'm so sorry if that seems selfish. She's like, I don't believe you because you're a liar, and you're the worst type of liar because your lies sound so much like the truth that I can't tell the difference. He goes, you're right. I am a liar, all right? I'm the black sheep, the defective twin that nobody wanted. It must feel real nice for you to stand here surrounded by all the things you got out of life while I spent 18 years in isolation as the family reject. And let me tell you, every inch of me wants to kill you for that. Every part. But I can't, because the only way that I can survive is if you help me. And I'd like to live, frankly, because I didn't get to do a whole lot of that before everybody decided I wasn't worth it. My boy is emotional, okay? He's like on the verge of tears, and Joe is like, fine, I'll give you my magic under one condition. You leave and you never come back. And if I ever see you again, I will kill you. I'll take myself and everyone in the coven out with me because I don't want to spend another day afraid of my own brother. The look on his face when he agrees to this just like breaks something in me every time. It's just the worst. Caroline's at the funeral first, kind of finishing setup and everything. She's not doing great, but she's holding it together. Stefan comes over to her. She initiates the talk. He gives her a very sad look, and she's like, oh my God, right now you're gonna, okay, this was a mistake. He says he wants to talk to her about everything, but maybe they could just wait until they're alone at the end of the day and she's made it through everything. She starts to cry and apologizes, and he hugs her and says she doesn't have anything to be sorry for. Yeah, my guy, I know that. I'm glad you know that, Stefan. We also have to look at Liz in her coffin in her uniform, guys, while Caroline like cries over her. Like, let me breathe. I can't do this. And then she has the nerve to be like, I'm gonna be okay, Mom, I promise. Bonnie still has her camera, and she's like wandering through the woods like, obviously I've stumbled into some frozen tundra hell dimension. Where am I? She sees footprints in the snow, and then the northern lights break out above her. She goes into a house in the woods and finds a journal dated from 1903 talking about the northern lights and how they're this reoccurring celestial event. So she realizes that this is another prison world. Tyler shows up drunk to the funeral, so Matt is like, yeah, no, absolutely not. Keep that trash nonsense outside. You can't come in. Caroline deserves better than this. The whole town comes out for the funeral, and it's so sweet and sad and terrible. They even do a final call for Liz over the police radio and then put her radio out of commission. Absolutely not. Excuse you? Damon gets up to give his speech, and it's real precious. He's like, Liz Forbes was my friend, and in her final moments, she asked me to pass over a message to her daughter, and then he tells Caroline that like her mom was so proud of her, and she should be because she's this beautiful, strong, intelligent woman. He calls her a generous friend and says she's a bright light in a sea of dark. He says Liz was a hero to the town and to everyone gathered there and to him. And then he turns to the coffin and he goes, goodbye, Sheriff. You will be missed. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Also, let's just collectively forget Damon and Caroline from season 1, okay? Because she appreciates what he has to say here, and that's what matters. Also, Stefan takes this moment to be like, oh my God, do I love Caroline? Maybe. Then Caroline gets up and sings a song for Liz. Once again, Stefan is watching her like, am I attracted to this? Yeah, I think I am. At the grill after the funeral, Matt confronts Tyler again, but Tyler is sober now. Matt says that being at Liz's funeral made him realize that he wants to do something that matters because Liz mattered to the town and Matt wants to matter to the town, and he won't unless he joins the police force. And also he got Tyler an application, so I guess they're never leaving Mystic Falls. Caroline goes to leave early, and Elena tries to go with her because she doesn't want her to be alone. And Caroline's like, no, Elena, you don't understand. I'm gonna be fine. I just have to get through today. And she leaves, and Elena is standing there like, something's funky. Bonnie is still in the empty house exploring everything, and she finds a picture of Damon and Stefan like from when they were humans. We go back to Joe and Rick's house, where Joe is preparing to give Kai her magic. Rick again asks what the other prison worlds are, and Kai's like, a place filled with crappy people like me, I'm sure. Then Kai teases Joe. He like grabs her face, and he's like, oh, don't look so sad. You never liked being a witch anyway. She pulls away from him, but in like a, hey, don't be funny right now kind of way, not in like a don't touch me, oh my God kind of way. And then she tells him to shut up, which Just knock it off with the sibling banter. If you don't want me to want more for you two, knock it off. Then she like reaches up and holds his face and starts giving her magic to him with a spell, and it like starts swirling all around the room with them. Back in the prison world, Bonnie is like, oh my god, and it starts like flickering in and out of like her prison world and the snowy prison world because everything's like righting itself. She decides to just start the spell anyway because it's either going to be the Northern Lights or the eclipse, and it should be powerful enough to get her home. While she's doing the spell in the snowy prison world, a woman walks up to her in the cave and is like, who are you? Bonnie is like, who are you? And then she yeets up through the beam of light back into Mystic Falls. Joe finishes the spell, so Kai is back to normal and very powerful. He's like, thank you and congratulations. Then he leans in and whispers something in her ear. When he pulls back, he like brushes the hair back from her face gently and is like, have a good life, sissy. And then leaves. Like, I just told you both to knock it off. So Rick's standing there like, what did he say? Joe goes, the reason I was sick, it wasn't food poisoning. He said I'm pregnant. Oh my god. She starts panicking and she's like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Oh my god. And Rick is just like, marry me. And she's like, no, are you insane? That's a pity proposal. You can't just throw a pity proposal at a woman who just told you she's pregnant. But then Rick pulls out a ring and she's like, what are you doing? What is that? Where did you get that? And he's like, I bought it the day after your brother died because I realized like life was too short, but then Liz got sick and so I was waiting for the right time and it was gonna be this morning, but then you started throwing up. So he says they can talk about what to do about the baby, but he would love to have a baby with her because he never thought he was gonna get the chance to have a family of his own and he loves her. So will she marry him? He gets on one knee and she's like, I can't believe this. Are you sure? And he's like, at least 92%. And she's like, ah, yes. And she jumps on him and they start kissing in the living room and I want to die. It's so cute. Stefan and Damon are at the grill talking about how good Damon's speech was. Damon apologizes for having failed Stefan at their mom's funeral and he says he didn't want to fail anybody that day. Stefan says that he thinks Damon was wrong about him and Caroline. And even though it might not be this like crazy faded love that he had with Elena and Catherine, what he feels for Caroline, even though it's hard for him to like express in words, could be something even better than any of that. And Damon's like, well, damn, brother, I think you should go tell her. Caroline goes home to an empty house carrying Liz's flag. She walks around and finds a sweater that Liz wore and smells it, and oh my god. Elena comes over anyway and is like, I don't believe you that you're okay. I think you're lying. And also, I'm really smart. So I figured out that the reason why you crammed everything into one day and you're like pretending to be fine and you keep saying, I just need to make it through the day, is because you're not planning on making it through tomorrow. Initially, you're like, oh my god, is Caroline gonna do something really crazy, like hurt herself? No, almost worse. She's gonna turn off her humanity. Caroline's like, yeah, actually, I am planning on doing that because your boyfriend scared me and I can't handle worse than this, okay? So if grieving my mom is gonna hurt me more than it's hurting me right now, I can't do it, I don't want it, no. Elena tries to convince her that it's not a good idea and it won't do what she thinks it's gonna do. And Caroline is like, how come I'm expected to live through my grief and be perfect, but you got to turn your humanity off and then forget Damon, like compel away the memories. Stefan ran away to Atlanta. Damon's turned his humanity off. Like, all of y'all have done it, okay? I can have my time. Elena's a little bitch, and she's like, if Stefan had said the right thing earlier, would that have made a difference? And Caroline's like, maybe, but he didn't, so it doesn't matter. Caroline starts crying and saying how she can't handle worse than how she feels right now. She cannot do it. She will not do it. Elena is like, you're not alone though, Caroline, and we can help you through it. She hugs her, and then Caroline snaps her neck and is like, I'm sorry, Elena, but it's not your decision to make. Damon calls Elena looking for her and then walks into the kitchen to see Bonnie standing in the real world. She runs into his arms and he catches her and he's like laughing while he's holding her and they're hugging, and it's, oh my god, it's one of my favorite Damon and Bonnie moments. It's so sweet. Stefan goes over to try to find Caroline and then instead finds Elena alone, unconscious in the living room. Bonnie shows Damon the footage on her camera and he's like, okay, weird, you were in my house, that's so strange. When she shows him the video of the woman in the cave, Damon is like, hold on, what? That's my mother. And that's all you get today. I'm so sorry. That's gonna do it for this week's gossip session. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like the video and comment something down below. I love talking to you guys. Does anybody have any fun plans for Thanksgiving next week? It's my birthday the day before. I can't wait. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye.